As is the way of things, I recently got into an argument online about the importance and difference between free weights and machines when it comes to hypertrophy, and the importance of stabilizer muscles. So I think we should start by just talking about stabilizer muscles because that is a term that's thrown around a lot and not always well defined. A stabilizer muscle is any muscle that helps stabilize the main muscle when it's doing its business. One that really makes it easy for me to pay attention to stabilizers is in the course of an overhead press. When you're pushing the weight up using a free weight and there's no machine assistance, when you're the only one driving all the effort up, you also are going to be using some of your muscles, the upper pec, parts of the shoulder girdle, the trap, to make sure that the weight doesn't fall to the side or front or back. You're making sure that it stays balanced up there. The main muscles, the traps, the median delt, the triceps, those are the ones that are going to be worked most heavily, but the other muscles around that area, including your core to keep yourself upright, are the ones that are stabilizing you and the main action to make sure you don't hurt yourself, make sure the weight doesn't fall, make sure everything moves how it needs to move. When you're using free weights, you are going to be using your stabilizers for pretty much every exercise out there. Some will use more, some will use less. Each exercise will use different stabilizers from most others, so those stabilizers mentioned for the overhead press are definitely not the stabilizers you're going to use for, say, a squat, which is more core, back, smaller muscles in the legs. Actually, a lot of core when it comes to it. Just make sure that you don't fall forward, you don't fall backwards, you're really driving up and down and using your quads to do that squat, a little bit of the glutes too. Free weights do have the problem of not actually letting you use the stabilizers. They're really good at targeting specific muscles, so it can't be denied. Machines are really good for building hypertrophy and engagement of specific muscles. If you want something that just targets the quads, you can get a machine that just targets the quads and ignore everything else. Devote all your attention, all your energy to just working the quads. This does mean that the surrounding muscles may not be engaged and may not grow properly. Hey, if that's what you're looking for, if you just want to get really big quads, then that's a great way to do it. But if you want to be able to transfer that strength outside of the gym, and if you want to use it for my eventual goal of being able to bring in groceries at 90 years old, you're going to need the other muscles to exist and function and be able to work together. Free weights do force you to use the stabilizers, but also more importantly, they do encourage that connection between the mind and the body that helps you understand when I'm doing this movement, all of these different parts need to work together to get that thing done. A deadlift is a pretty common one for, it's just like picking something up off the ground. You want to make sure you do it in a way where you're not going to hurt your back. You're engaging properly with your legs. At the top, you're pulling up with your back and straightening out, but really the driving force is all in the lower half. If you're using a machine to target the hamstrings or the glutes, you can get really good hamstrings, really good glutes. You can develop amazing hypertrophy of those muscles, but then when it comes to actually picking up a box, your body's not going to be as aware of how it needs to move in order to not hurt your back. You can lift much greater weights with a machine just because you aren't as afraid of failure. I like to think of the bench press. When you're doing a bench press, if that weight falls, you're in for a bad time. If it falls on your neck, you're done. If it falls on your face, you're probably done. If it falls on your chest or your abdomen, which has happened to me, it's uncomfortable is not a good word for it. It downright sucks. But if you're doing something like a Smith machine or a chest press machine, failure's kind of out of the game. You might hurt yourself if you go too heavy, but the actual problems that can come about moving that weight in that way are largely ignored. And because that machine so controls that motion, you can go heavier. But those stabilizers, the thing that keep the weight from moving too much, they never have a chance to develop. I think it really comes down to what it is that you're looking to do when you go to the gym. If you're going to the gym just to get really big, specific, aesthetic muscles and look like you're filling out your shirt, yeah, machines will do you just fine. When you finally switch to free weights, you're probably going to take a pretty huge weight cut just because the surrounding architecture is not built up. And if you ever leave the gym, you're probably going to face some issues if you try to do something like lift a heavy rock. If you work with free weights, you're going to develop a lot more of the surrounding architecture. Your maximum weight's probably not going to be as great. You're a little more likely to hurt yourself. I know I have. But the actual ability to move in the real world is much more developed. It'll be slower. I mean, you got to build up a lot of other material in your body, but I find it to be a lot more functionally useful for what I'm looking to do. So, I don't know which way y'all are going. I personally feel free weights are better pretty much all around. Machines are very good, especially if you're injured and you're not looking to injure yourself further and just kind of build back to where you were. Machines are great for that. If you're looking to target specific muscles and just build up, let's say, your bicep or your tricep or your quads, you can find machines that do that, and that's fantastic. But that also comes to a problem when it comes to actually building like a home gym. Machines take up room, and they are expensive. And each machine pretty much serves one purpose. If you get some adjustable dumbbells and an adjustable bench, it'll take up less space than most machines, and you can hit pretty much every muscle with just those. Throw in a barbell if you want to get fancy, maybe a power block. Takes up the space of maybe 1 or 2 or 3 other machines, but you're hitting everything at that point. Machines are great, but they do have their limits. So, I personally am a big free weight advocate. Machines are fun. I like to use them on occasion. Cable row is one of my best friends. But ultimately, I think free weights are the way to go if you're looking to preserve strength and functionality as you get older. Of course, if you're already old and you're just looking to get back into things, or if you're injured and need to rebuild some muscles, machines really are the way to go. Anyway, I hope y'all have fun out there. Lift whatever it is you're lifting, and don't take it easy. Hit it hard this week.